Welcome everyone back again this month with a fresh look. And someone came up with a theme, I can't remember who it is, of superpowers, our inner superpowers. So it should be a fun meeting. And I think it's nice just to, the whole theme of this series is taking a fresh look. And, as we start to consider, well, what is a fresh look right now to you? And in a way, the ability to take a fresh look. Like really take a fresh look. Yeah. I mean, that's such a superpower. Like there are so many things I know for me, and I'm sure for you too, that seem, we have similar thoughts or the same thoughts, especially when they're limiting or fearful thoughts or what, just any kind of thoughts can get kind of, feel kind of stale. But when we stop to consider what we're actually thinking about, maybe we can see something new and it can be really powerful. Sometimes when I was in a group last night, and sometimes when, there'll be a discussion. Hi, Martine. Nice to see you here. Sometimes there'll be a discussion and someone will have, something going on in their life, an issue, a problem, or something. And there'll be some time and they'll get to express it and say what it is. And then often before like I answer, if they're asking me something, I'll just say, well, okay, now that like you've said all that, how does it look now? Now they just told me exactly how it is for them, right? But 10 seconds later, you can look at it and see something completely new and helpful. So that's what I really loved. Like just whatever that is for you, like taking a fresh look at something. And I'm sure you've all had those experiences. Um, so with that introduction, maybe take a second and a fresh look at this theme. Like what do you have inside you that you think you could call a superpower? And what does that mean to you? And for me, a superpower can be just something I know is really good inside me and something I can count on. Um, the other element of superpowers that's kind of interesting and fun too, if you look at this sort of comic book world and movies and whatever, a lot of the people who have superpowers discover them at some point. They don't actually know they have them until a particular point in their life. So, maybe you'll discover a superpower that you have right now. But in any event, just kind of look within yourself for a little bit, see what comes up, and then the floor is open to anyone.
Well, I'll jump on that because the superpower that's kind of like most present for me in this moment is the superpower of noticing. And it's just simple stuff like I notice I'm hungry. I notice I need to go to the bathroom. But what this understanding has shown me is that like if I'm caught up in my thinking and then I notice that I'm caught up in my thinking, I'm no longer in my thinking, and there's something opens up. The other day I was driving in my car. I wasn't feeling a great energy, and I was like ruminating about this and that, and and then I noticed that I was doing that. And as I did, I kind of like I was able to see the trees and houses bathed in sunlight, and it was just stunning. And that noticing just allowed me to come back to the present moment and to really to be with and experience the beauty of life. I notice when I'm caught up in an emotion that like stress or worry. And, these days I don't spend much time there because I notice it pretty quickly. I don't see any value for me in stress or worry. So when I notice quickly. And it doesn't happen as much because I think because I notice so quickly, it's like um, I'm not, something isn't kind of generating that thinking as much. So, but when I notice, as soon as I notice that I'm in that stressful thinking, that worried thinking, now I've noticed the feeling, it's like the thinking just falls away. So again, it kind of opens up the space. So for me, noticing it's such a profound superpower. I've always had it. I just hadn't seen just how potent it is. That's the one that strikes me the most in this moment.
I feel like I'm channeling something that I remember from you, Tom, saying about we were talking about focus, I think. I think it was. But we're always paying attention to something, and that's what we're noticing, wherever our attention is directed. So it's like noticing is natural, putting our attention on something is natural. And there's this beautiful direction of, I kind of feel like all the superpowers are one. It's this aliveness, because the noticing is also what allows me to have these things that we call insight, like, oh, noticing, taking a fresh look, and there's something new. I didn't see that before. That's a superpower. It's amazing.
For me, sometimes that superpower comes with judgment because I notice how not present I am. Because this year presence was supposed to be my word, and just by doing that, I notice I'm not present. I guess in my head I should be more present. That's another story. Um, so I guess I could be happy that, oh yes, I noticed that I'm not present. um, and sometimes it's more like, oh shit, not again. So it comes depending of the day, it goes both ways. Yeah.
Can you say more about your word for the year and how that came about and for you?
I'm not into goals for the year or New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. But I thought, well, maybe I can try an experiment. Now, what do I want more of this year? And at the time, I was doing Eckhart Tolle's Teachers of Presence and also his present thing. And even a bit before that, I noticed that I'm not totally 100% present in life. And that probably something that I need more of. um, and so that's how that word came about, to be more present in life, in the here and now rather than somewhere else I'd rather be. Um, or just different experience. Like I travel a lot, and to be just present in that particular moment, because the chances of me going back to that particular place are probably nil. um, and or less likely. Um, It's just to be present, even in conversation or whatever. So that how this word came about, that just to be in the here and now, fully committed in the here and now, and what is happening. That's how it came about.
Yeah, that's great. That's so nice. And it strikes me that if you're having the intention to be present, you kind of already are, like right now. And then there is this, it's kind of an interesting paradox um to me a little bit, because when we like look at a year, let's say, right, and we say we want to be more present during the year, we're thinking about the future, and yet we're talking about being present. But I feel in what you're saying, and I felt this before too, is we can have an intention about the future in the present moment, like a strong intention, like you were just exactly as you were describing, like this longing or this desire to be more present, not just now, but throughout my day and throughout my life. And I really feel like I found that there's a power to that. Oh, a power. So again, there's maybe another superpower, like the power of having a strong intention or a beautiful intention or a nice intention is, to me, it's like it's powerful in the moment, but I do actually feel like it does sort of go ahead of us a little bit. So that's great. Thank you.
I guess I
Yeah,
can say, oh, go ahead.
Melissa.
When you first said what's your superpower, I was thinking, like my mind thought qualities, like my good qualities. I don't know, they might be a little interchangeable. Um, so I thought my good qualities are not taking things personal. I don't know how I'm able to do that. I mean, because I've done it for years. Um, and then just seeing the good in people, which neither of those things are necessarily attractive to certain other people. Like with my husband, if he'll be talking about somebody, I'm like, but honey, he or he's probably going through something. He's like, why are you defending them? I'm like, I'm not, but there's always another side of the story. But just in this conversation, thinking about a superpower, I think is like the ability to be aware. And I feel like I want to say I've been honing self-awareness, but I think I've just been allowing it. Just just being aware, like what my energy is as far as feelings. And yesterday when I was walking, I became aware that it seemed like the last few days have been moving slower than I've ever remembered before because they're always so fast. But oh, it was awesome to just be aware of that because that hasn't happened to me in a long, long time, to feel kind of like, wow, I've got some time here. Yeah.
Well, Melissa, can you say a little bit more about the the not taking things personally? Because it really struck me when you said that. I mean, a lot of times that phrase, like about taking things personally, in my experience, that's often like someone saying to someone else, "Don't take things personally," or "Don't take it personal." And you seem to describe it, the not taking things personally, not just like about one thing, but a more general quality of your life, that you don't take things personally. And I was wondering if you could say a little more, like, what is that for you?
Yeah, it's like being more Teflon and Velcro. So if somebody says something, or like when I used to work at the hospital and either a patient might be not particularly nice, I can see that it's because they're fearful. They're just about to have surgery. Or like if a surgeon would be rude, I just wouldn't take it personal. Sometimes I take things personal, like for my husband, but a lot of times not. I just think, and maybe that's what gets him upset. Like, I don't say it out loud, but this is more about you than me. Because I think it is when we, sometimes when we take things personal, it's our own, whatever, it's our own definition or, I don't know what the word is, but it's what we think they're saying or treating us. It just has always felt really good not to get burdened down and or hold grudges. Yeah, just to let it just brush off.
That's great. Thank you.
Just thinking of the book, the Four Agreements, and not taking things personally is one of them. And every time I read that book, and I've read it multiple times, it's like, oh my God, it's so easy to say and so difficult to do. What was another one? Don't make assumptions. I was probably better at that one. Anyway, I wanted to pick up on something, Martine, you were talking about, like, the intention of being present. And I have my own one, which is joy is my compass. And, it's a reminder that joy is an aspect of who I am, isn't it? Maybe that's a superpower, that I am everything I'm seeking. I am that already. And so when I notice that I'm, coming back to that superpower of noticing, when I notice that I'm not in a state of joy because of I don't know if I will call it an intention, but maybe it is an intention that joy is my compass. When I notice that I'm not in joy, it's like, oh, it can remind me that there's something more uplifting available. Like, in a way, the principles point to me that joy is always available. Now, whether I'm capable of experiencing that or not, something tells me because I'm human, no. But I can potentially always experience more joy. Because I do get caught up in my thinking. And if I notice that, joy isn't here, now there's more space for me to experience. Well, that's the story. Joy isn't here because it is here. If I notice that, then I'm more open to experiencing the joy that is here.
I like your take on that. With the joy is always there. I always try to remember well-being, but I like joy better because that's like a step up. Yeah. And it doesn't mean we have to be giddy or, happy, happy, joy, joy, but just joy,
Yeah.
appreciation, I guess.
Yeah, I shared this with a friend of mine, and he said that his direction was serenity. And it's funny, in my 20s, I called it peace of mind. I was also proud of my active mind. I didn't see the inherent conflict in having a busy mind and not having peace of mind, but, it took me a while to see that conflict. I think the principles helped me see that. It's that deep yearning for that peace of mind was present in me for a long time. I have a story about that. So I went to India, like when I was about 40, And I was there for 3 weeks. And during those 3 weeks, we're doing meditation and chanting and these different processes and going to these holy places and beautiful places in India. And I just got quieter and quieter. And after 3 weeks, I was so serene. There's a photograph of me, and I just look like the embodiment of a serene guru. So now I knew the answer. For peace of mind, just go to India for 3 weeks. And I came back and go back to work, and that peace of mind just seemed to gradually fade away. And 3 months later, it was like it was gone. So I gotta find a way to go back to India. And I came across the principles and realized, no, I don't need to go to India to find it. It's always available. Just knowing it's available. I don't know if I'd call that a superpower, but maybe just knowing that it's available helps me experience more of it. I mean, I remember some months after coming across the principles, quite a few months, and I was just noticing one day how quiet it was up here. And I'm going, I haven't done anything to make this happen. I haven't been to India. I haven't meditated. I haven't. It's just like the only thing I'd done is get a better understanding of how this works. And I don't know how, but somehow that had allowed my thinking to get quieter. Yeah. There was something else that was going to come out and it's gone now. So if, if I notice it when it comes back, maybe I'll let you know.
As we're talking about superpowers, there's one that I'm just astounded by because I use it all day long. And it's this ability to feel what I'm thinking and to play with thought, any thought. So it's like, I like the metaphor of thought as Play-Doh. So it's this energy that somehow I can use to make it into anything. And I can tell what I'm building by how it feels. I can tell if it's something that is serving me or something that hurts by how it feels. And I'm doing this all day long. And along with that ability to the superpower of playing with thought, I mean, it lets me have every experience I ever have of reality, of you on this call, of the people I love, of embraces and dreams and hopes and intentions that I can use to create things in the world. And then when I'm done playing with the Play-Doh of thought, I can drop it. And I can feel presence. This was something that was really cool that I heard articulated by Eckhart Tolle that I hadn't seen before when he said that the presence has a feeling, not an emotion, but it has a feeling because everything in life we experience through feeling, and the feeling of presence is peace, love, and joy. But peace from within, love from within, joy from within. It has nothing to do with where we are or what's happening to us, who might be with us. It lives here. And the second I stop playing with whatever that Play-Doh is, that's what I feel. And then I can go back to playing with thought, and I can play with anyone that I want. I can get caught up in it because it's so compelling. And then I can drop it again. so creative, and it actually allows me to have an experience of the world. And I think that's really cool.
I was just thinking about, think of any of the actual fictional or superheroes, from the stories or the comic books or the movies, right? Their superpowers are almost always something like they can fly or they're really strong or, whatever they can do. And I was just thinking about that. It, we may not be able to do those things in the world unless people here have secret superpowers that I don't know about, or to teleport or whatever. But in our imagination, we can. So in our imagination, we can do anything. We can fly, we can make something appear. And it just kind of struck me as that's really interesting that in that world of what we call our minds, our thought, our imagination, we actually have the ability to do anything. There is no limit. And I think in the past, I would be like, well, okay, yeah, I can do that, but that's not going to do me any good in my life. But there could be kind of like a joy in the freedom um, to just exercise our imagination. I mean, a lot of times during a day or when I'm walking or on the bus or something, there's really nothing to do. And if I don't have my phone, which sometimes I don't, or I don't, I have it turned off, or I'm not reading something or paying all that much attention to what's going on around me, you have your imagination. And yet I feel like most of the time when my mind's just running, it's just running on some kind of loop, some kind of story. Oftentimes it's like really not nice what's going on inside there. And I'm sure everyone has those experiences. And I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, like I have the choice to do something else. I remember hearing someone speak, I don't know, a long time ago, who was just talking about this and said, like, imagine you went into this store that had everything, absolutely everything you could ever want, right? And you went in and everything's there. And I can't remember what it was. It was like, but if you just pick out this cheap little hat and you walk out with it. You could have had anything and you picked, and he said something like that's what our minds are like sometimes. Like our minds can do anything and we can think about anything. And how often do we use it just to, and this is not even just about the effect it has on us or the world. It's just like, you know, we're just thinking about things and we're thinking about like terrible, awful things some of the time. And then when we notice and catch on to it, it can drop away and then we can think about something else. But it's kind of like in this moment, it's kind of funny to me to consider that kind of fun, just to spend time using your imagination to think about something amazing. So that's a superpower, imagination.
Yeah, as you're saying that, Tom, it's striking me like feeling, the ability to feel is a superpower. And one of the things I'm leaning towards is being guided by feelings rather than thinking, because thinking can go all over the place. But feeling is such a beautiful guide. I mean, if I'm in a beautiful feeling, Sid says, get into a beautiful feeling and then go live your life. Like that's, if I could stay in a beautiful feeling all the time, that would be, well, I'm not, but I don't. So, and that's okay because if I'm not in a beautiful feeling, I'm feeling something, I'm usually feeling something. And if it's a not pleasant feeling, that's beautiful information. And, I used to think if I'm feeling this way, well, it's because of whatever happened. And now it's so simple. It's like, oh, I'm feeling was angry or worried or upset, or it's telling me one thing. I'm in that kind of thinking. And sometimes noticing the feeling. Oh no, wow, two superpowers, noticing and feeling. Um, by noticing the feeling, sometimes the thinking just falls away because my attention is no longer on the thinking, it's on the feeling. And that's to me is the gift of the feeling. I'm noticing the feeling and boom, thinking's got no energy, I'm out of it. And now there's space for something new to show up. Now there's times when I notice a feeling and it's not because of what I'm thinking or of the thinking that I'm aware of. It's some deeper thinking or some invisible thinking, maybe unconscious thinking. And but now I know that, well, this too shall pass. And I used to get upset that I would be in that feeling, but now I know it's a feeling and it will go. And I'm just have so much more acceptance around whatever feeling is present. There's nothing wrong with any feeling. I used to make it wrong. In my fairly early days in the principles, I went through this period where I was like, I know the principles. I shouldn't be getting upset or angry or like I would beat myself up because I wasn't feeling good all the time. And then I finally had a realization, probably I heard someone say something and went, oh, it doesn't work that way. We are going to get caught up and that's okay. But the more thinking I add to that state that I'm in, the longer it'll probably last and the worse it may get. Now it's like, oh, okay, I'm feeling this way. And that just noticing the feeling feels like it opens up space, even if the thinking behind it hasn't dropped away because it's not visible to me. And something will occur to me, and it might not be to do something really creative because I don't have this maybe the space or the capacity in that moment because I'm caught up in this feeling. But there's always something available to me. And usually the feeling, by not giving it attention, knowing it's there, not denying it, not suppressing it, just allowing it to be, it will just drift away on its own. That's what I've experienced. And so to me, like being guided by my feelings is understanding what feelings mean to me. And then like not giving attention to the thinking behind the feeling, because that's not serving me at all. It just allows me to live with, I feel like more ease and peace and ultimately joy. Yeah, because even when the feeling isn't one I really want to be in, just by having acceptance around it, I'm like it's much more peaceful. I might not feel joyful, but I can still feel that aspect of peace. And even when I was sick a couple months ago, and I really was, it wasn't pleasant, and yet I was connecting with the essence of who I am, and that knowing that I'm okay, that I am peace, love, joy. It was like, and even if I couldn't experience in that moment, that knowing was enough to it's just easier to be in that space of feeling sick and not feeling great. Just elevated my experience.
That's great, Bernie. Thank you. You know, I was just wondering also another thing about superpowers. Um, like maybe as children, I don't know if any of you imagined what it would be like to have a superpower in the, you know, the world of our superheroes if we like someone. Did everyone have a superhero that they liked as a child by any chance? Were you interested? Was there a superpower? Someone who do you have someone, Steph? Who did you like as a superpower?
I don't even remember all of her superpowers, but there was a period where I really liked Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I was
I
thinking
was I was really into because she had like what an invisible plane she could fly in. She was super strong. And what else did she do? Do you remember? I
she
just thought
had,
she was cool.
she had a lasso, some kind of lasso that she could catch
Yeah.
people with.
Do you know who my favorite superhero is now, though?
Who's that?
My favorite superhero is Hanuman, who is the Hindu monkey deity, right? So I'll tell you why. I think he's wonderful. When I heard his story, apparently his mother, there are lots of different versions of the story, right? But this is the one that's resonating or that I'm remembering now. His mother ate some magical seeds and then she conceived Hanuman with like the wind god or something. So he was a child of the god. And he was half human and half monkey. And he was born with these superpowers. And he was really mischievous. He was like this playful little monkey boy. So he did things like he reached for the sun because he thought it was a mango and he was hungry. He's going to eat it. And he just kept getting into trouble and he played pranks on the monks. And one day he he was messing around with the wrong monk and they put a curse on him, put a curse on Hanuman because he was too powerful and too mischievous and he was just causing too much trouble that he would forget about all of his superpowers, every single one. And it wasn't until he was in service that his superpowers would come back to him, that he would remember his superpowers. And when we're talking superpowers, he was basically invincible, could not be destroyed by fire. Couldn't be killed. He could be as big as he wanted or as small as he wanted. He could teleport. He could like do all this cool stuff. But he didn't know it. He would forget until he was in service and he was devoted. Hanuman was a devoted servant of Sita and Ram. And people were jealous of him. And I remember this one story that they were saying, like, it's not fair. You're the favorite of Sita and Ram. And he said, this isn't true. And he opened up his mouth, and inside of his mouth were Sita and Ram. They were within him. He was in service of that which he was.
Wow.
And so all of this is like, I'm like, okay, we're Hanuman. We are that. We are made of that God stuff with the power of creation fueling us. And we forget. And we forget. So he's my favorite.
So that's great. And Martine, I saw you shaking your head when Stephanie started. Is that someone you're familiar with too?
I've like most people have been to India and all those kind of things. And yes, I have heard about Rama and Hanuma, and you go to Thailand or Cambodia and you see also his carvings. Or Ram Dass was also a devotee of
Oh,
Rama. So yeah, so I think it's beautiful. For me, it will be more like in the Matrix. Now just plug yourself in the computer and I speak all the languages and all those things.
right.
So it's more a cognitive one. Just to know everything. That would be fun. Um, but to go back to the feeling, the joy, if you look at all the lots of spiritual teachers, no Bashar or whatever, they all say, follow your joy, follow the highest excitement. Sometimes we forget to do that. But we're trying to make a decision. But follow your joy and follow your excitement. So it goes back to there's information in the feeling type of thing.
That's great. Thank you. Um, in the last few minutes, I have kind of a provocative question because, when I was a kid, maybe when you were kids, or maybe even adults, and if someone asked you, well, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? Right? And you would say whatever it was, right? But now I'm thinking about, since what we're talking about as inner superpowers, like, is there an inner superpower that you wish you had that you don't see yet in your life? Like, one of the things that jumped out to me was what Melissa was saying. Like, would you like to have a life where you didn't take things personally? Would that be a superpower for you? Or I was thinking about, what if my superpower was the ability to ask anybody for anything? And I see Stephanie's eyes light up because we talk about this sometime, you know. So think about that for a sec, or reflect on it. If there was an inner superpower that you maybe don't feel that you have right now, but you could have, what would that be? And feel free to.
This is a trick question, Tom.
Well, of course,
This is a trick
it's
question.
a trick program. The whole program is a trick.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. So, you know, right now, the superpower, the inner superpower that I really want, that I desire, is to unleash the full force of the creative force of the universe through me anytime, anywhere, in any direction that I want. I have it. I have it. And I also have the ability to create the experience that I don't. But I have it. It's mine. It's me.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a trick question.
I'm
You're so
glad. I'm
cruel.
I'm glad you're onto it. Because in that world, we could, like, going back to what we said earlier, in the world of imagination, we can have whatever we want, but we can also have whatever we want in terms of this inner superpower, and then we see that we already have it. So really, we can have any one that we want,
Because I was like, Tom, you can ask anybody anything, anytime. There is nothing stopping you.
right? I know,
Nothing, right?
right?
Except it doesn't look like that.
Yeah. So for me, the inner superpower would be to see that and to not be constrained, at least in my mind, constrained, right?
Sorry, to see what?
Well. The thing about asking, like, it's true. Yes, you can ask anyone for anything, but to me, the superpower would be more. I would feel that inner freedom inside. I'd be walking around with, yeah, I can ask anybody for anything, you know. So anyway, it's there's the doing of it, but in reality, like, asking you for something, and of course I'm free to do it, but do I feel constrained within myself? So if those inner constraints disappeared.
Jimmy Smart has this thing that they called it the pizza walk. And he asked people to go to different places and ask for a pizza. So you could be in a bank and ask for a pizza, or you could go to a store and ask for a pizza, and or ask whatever that is doesn't match the place where you're at, just so people get less thinking about the asking. So he called it the pizza walk. So
That's
ask
great.
people to
Have you tried
ask
it?
free stuff to at the wrong place, So yeah.
Have you tried it, Martine?
I've tried it. I tried to remember. Have I tried it? I don't remember
Okay.
if I tried it or not, but yeah, he used to make people do that.
That reminds me of a story. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on you, Bernie. Do you want to talk first?
Go ahead.
I was a big fan of Tim Ferriss some years ago, and he did this something about see this thing about fear, like becoming fearless. So one of the exercises that he had was to go into a public place and lay down on the floor for 1 minute without saying anything, without doing anything, don't like collapse, just lay on the floor silently for 1 minute and then get up. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm going to. This was maybe like 8 years ago. And I went to a concert that was in a bookstore or something, and there weren't that many people there. There were maybe like a dozen or so people. And for 45 minutes, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I was fear stricken. I was completely panicked. And then finally I did it. And then I got up and I was like, I made such a big deal of it. And did it help me get over my fear? I don't think so. But now, if I wanted to, I don't give a shit about what anybody thinks anymore. In that situation, anyway, I'm like, I could do, I could do anything now. Something changed. I had so much thinking of it. And that was me using my superpower of creating my experience with thought to create this experience of panic. And because nothing happened, and my husband was with me. He's now my ex-husband, and he was just like rolling his eyes at Stephanie doing dumb things again. I was like, just pretend you don't know me. Walk over there. I'm gonna do my thing. It was so bizarre.
Well, I was going to share my. That's a great story, by the way, Steph. I was going to share the inner superpower I want, and then you spoke it so eloquently, Steph. Although maybe I'm seeing it a little differently as well. It's like it's using that power of creativity to create in the world. And like it just feels this power of, I don't know, I'll call it manifestation that we have. And I don't even know what I mean by that because I'm still exploring it. But there's something about we do have the ability to create in the world, like everything we see that's man-made. Maybe we should say person-made. Um, it came about through someone's imagining it here and then taking action to bring it out there, bring it out in the world. And I think I've got this, well, we all have this great capacity to imagine things when we remember. But I feel like, oh yeah, I'm good at creating up here, but to create it out there, not so good. It's a good. I'm creating that. Wow, I just realized that's the story I've created. So guess what? I'm creating that. I'm not going to create out there, but I'm creating, not creating. Whoa, that's what I've created out there. Shh. Now, maybe I can create something else. Whoa. I'm going to let that settle.
That's great. I love when one of our we see somebody's mind get blown in live on live TV. How about you, Melissa? Do you have any thoughts or just anything you want to share?
I think mine would be courage.
Hmm.
Even though I'm pretty courageous, I've done some courageous things, stupid things, but they took balls to do, let me tell you. There I go again, talking bad on the um, but yeah, courage, which goes along the lines of not
What
giving a
would you
crap.
what would you do if you had unlimited, unparalleled, limitless courage?
Hmm, anything I wanted. Um, right off the bat, I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if it really is courage or it's just the I don't I don't care what someone else might think factor. Yeah, yeah.
And isn't
I think
is
we
that
need courage. Like courage is something, well, so maybe we need because we have fear. When we're fearless, we don't need courage.
True.
And so, um, when people say courageous means fearless, no, not in my mind. It's like, no, courageous is or bravery is because we have fear and we're overcoming it. But when we see that that fear is something we're creating with our thinking, and I like what you said, Melissa, because you pointed to that it's often about what we think other people might think. And that's what stops us. It's not them that's stopping us. It's what we think they might be thinking about us. We're creating that.
Yeah, because the courage is there to do it. It's just the like being somewhat attached to the outcome if it did happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I've been reminded recently that one of the roots of the word courage is actually heart. So if you think of courage as heart, putting your heart into whatever you're feeling or doing, that's courage. And it doesn't have to have anything to do with fear or overcoming fear. You put your heart into things.
Yeah.
I love that. Which that would be a superpower too, right? Right, like Wizard of Oz. I knew there were other. They weren't so much superpowers, but Wizard of Oz, and I hope I'm not spoiling the movie for anyone. They all wanted something that they didn't think that they had, that they realized at the end that they always had. And the courage is the heart. So we're coming to the end here. Does anyone want to say anything in the next couple of minutes?
Totally
Yeah.
unrelated, but Melissa, is that only a French name or do you actually speak it? You're muted, so if it wasn't French, you went woo.
Hey, blah blah. My husband's French Canadian, so Gelano, or he would say,
Okay, so
Gileno.
you took his name. Something that Quebecers don't do. No, just to say that there's a 3PGC French. So
Hmm.
that's why I said that. Okay, so go back to normal programming.
Thanks.
All I know is je t'aime beaucoup, which is I love you very much.
The ultimate superpower.
So one thing that's like for me, this conversation is about is that the superpowers we're talking about. I don't know if this is always true, but it seems that these are superpowers we all have within us. Like no one is missing out on the superpower of noticing. They may not notice that they have the power of notice, the superpower of noticing, but they still have it. The superpower of creativity. They may not be aware they have that, but they have it. And like it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this conversation on superpowers because the more we can we see the superpowers that are already within us and that are within everyone, the more we can allow those superpowers to make our lives run more smoothly. And actually, it just occurred to me, often those superheroes, their superpowers got them into trouble or made my life more difficult. But maybe it's because it was just them that had the superpower. So people were relying on them. And these superpowers we're talking about, because we all have them, we don't need to rely on anyone else just to have a superpower. We have them all. So we don't need to get ourselves into trouble because of our superpowers, although we can, because that's something we can create.
And it's fun to remind others that they have them too,
Yeah.
especially those that have no idea.
Mhm.
And you're welcome, Div. Yash. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but
Yeah.
Sorry, it's 3:58 a.m. in Sydney.
Oh.
So I got in at 3:30 a.m. because I didn't wake up for the three. I mean, on the hour. So I've just been listening. I mean, yeah, as soon as you wake up, it's like, oh, yeah, and then, yeah, get. But I don't put an alarm clock because I start thinking about it before going, and like won't sleep. So, yeah, thank you for the conversation.
yeah.
And one last thing, I guess I was listening to Steph talk about Hanuman and all that. I'm Indian origin, and when we were kids in Kenya, although I come from a Jain background, which is like Hindu, like as Buddhists are related to Hindu, we are similar, all from the same, whatever you want to call it, philosophy of life, but had different. But we take Hanuman and Ganesha, the elephant god, and Rama and Sita and Krishna and Vishnu and Shi, all of these. We we had a what do you call it? Uh, uh, there's a psychological term in it's called archetypes, and we there are characteristics within all of them. Although the temples are without, they act more like a reminder, like you enter a Hanuman temple or a Shiva. But ultimately, all of these, the Hindu so called gods and goddesses, Lakshmi, abundance, all this, they are states of being hidden or unhidden, bidden or unbidden within each of us. And they all have their parts to play throughout life. I'm just talking about the mythology, but mythology has more truth than many mythology does point to the truth. So in our case, it's the superpowers of all these archetypal gods and goddesses in Hindu, pre-Hindu actually, all of them, Indra and Surya and the sun, and all of them are all within each of us, and they can be bidden or unbidden, but the states of mind and being give you the clarity when each one is at play and when each one has exceeded their power, or when each one is less than it. So it can go very well with Sydney Banks, or the creative, or the divine engineering, as Mavis Khan calls it, or divine creative intelligence, because the state of mind is paramount. And that seems to go a lot with Christine Heath when she once mentioned, I don't know which one it was, and she said it's all consciousness. I still get my head wrapped because it goes into intellect immediately. Immediately, all this goes into intellect. Till one day I was reminded again by Judy and Christy that all that processing, however, how would it be without the processing? It's what you said, I think, sorry, Bernie, earlier on about noticing the feeling. You don't need to go into the processing of anything. And now what I do get is trust and faith. I mean, I get it in splurts, not all the time, but trust and faith and hope in that's sort of like getting us to coming here and having these conversations of hope, which in itself is a superpower, like here with you and Tom and Steph and Kate and all. And then somebody say Joe Bailey. So I bring them up because they resonate. I've got my own wisdom in Joe Bailey, but what I'm trying to say is you all create a space of resonance. So he gave a lovely visual metaphor that hope is what gets you to the bus stop. Listening is your ticket, and insight is your ride home. I thought it was so simply, so clear at that time. Now, I don't. I hope I don't dwell on it. Otherwise, it goes straight to intellect. But I got a lovely feeling that. So that's my take on all this.
Oh,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's brilliant.
I don't, Joe's meta. It's just so simple. But when they're simple, I realize, oh, and there's such a calm feeling, right? And then I go back into the shit brain again. But what I'm trying to say is the knowledge that it's there is sometimes just enough to do the next best thing. Thanks.
It's so great. That's so
Yeah.
great. Well, as a dedicated bus person, I think next time I'll try to pay with hope and ask for
Save
pizza,
your ticket.
and I'll ask for pizza too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks everybody. This was so much fun. We couldn't do this without you. Well, I'm sure we'll see you again soon and have a good rest of your day wherever you are.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And if you have any topics that you would like us to bring to this conversation, please let us know.
Right?
Until next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.